Last week I encouraged you to think about how busy you are outside of your teaching schedule and to take a good look at how dependent you are on the income from piano. And that will dictate how flexible you want to be in your studio policies. So today I'm going to launch into some specific practical options for you in several areas of studio policies, beginning with what I think are some of the most important ones. Today we're going to deal with makeup lessons and dropping. First, dropping. Under what circumstances will you let students drop? Well, I'm going to give you some options beginning with the most lenient to the most strict. The most lenient would be you can drop anytime you want to. No penalties. The next would be you may drop with 2 weeks notice, or you may drop with 1 month's notice. I think perhaps a lot of teachers fall in the next category, which is you may drop at the end of the semester. What I did was require students to commit for the year, and they could drop at the end of the year. Why? Because I was dependent on the income, and if a student dropped out in November, I may or may not have a waiting list, or February, I may or may not have a waiting list to fill it, you see. So I let it know that this was a business, and I had some structure, and this is the way I operate if you want to take lessons in my studio. So those are quite a number of options for you. So figure out where you are on that continuum, write that down, and I suggest you include that in your policies. Now, number 2, absences, makeup lessons, rescheduling, the bane of teaching, right? Especially during COVID. Now, I'm not going to address COVID right now. We're mostly through that, and it's been very difficult to try to figure out how lenient to be in that situation. But I'm going to address the non-COVID environment here that most of us find ourselves in most of the time. So under what circumstances will you make up a lesson if a student asks for it? The most lenient, of course, would be anytime. A little stricter would be, well, I need 24 hours notice for any reason. Or I need a week's notice. Or you can say, I will only make up for sickness anytime. Or I will only make up for sickness if you give me 24-hour notice. See, those are lots of options there. A little stricter would be you offer one makeup at some point in the lesson, in the semester. For example, some people will take an afternoon out of their Easter break and make up lessons that have occurred so far in the spring semester. You could do something like that. Another way to handle it is to say, I will make up one lesson per semester, and it will be in June. And then I keep a note. This person missed this lesson on this date, and so then I publish the date for the makeup lesson. I try to make it a time when not a morning or a time when it's usually accessible to everybody. And if they can't make it, fine. Actually, I find that very few parents avail themselves of that opportunity, but it makes them feel that I'm not just, they haven't hit a wall, that I had at least some flexibility and there was a plan in place. So those are several options for dropping, allowing students to drop, and allowing students to call in to ask for makeup. Next week, we'll be talking about another issue, which is how do you raise your rates? See you next week.